Hello everyone, happy Sunday. Hey Ashley, Matt, hello Vicky, thanks for being here. Do I sound kind of like I'm in like a bathroom or something? It sounds weird. Hopefully I won't have too many microphone issues today, but we shall see. But I apologize ahead of time if so. Hey Capri, hey Tiger Girl. Hello Miss Christy. Hey Nicole, yeah, I saw, I responded back to you. Thank you, I'm going to check it out as soon as I can. Hey Murphy's Law. Hello Lisa. Hello. At least I'm pretty sure I did. I must have done some. Let me check real quick. Yeah, it's sent. Beautiful. Hey, Dave. Hey, Irvin. Hello to you as well. So while we're waiting for just a couple more people to get here, if there's any questions that you guys do have for me in regards to my theory on the case, then feel free to put it in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Make sure my microphone's okay. I still hear static, so we're good. Hey, Sean. Hey, Heart Eyes. Hope you're feeling better. Oh, you did? You watched all my American Horror Story videos? Awesome. Yeah. The similarities are insane. Because if you think about it, I mean, and I mentioned this before, but I've seen a lot of predictive programming in other orchestrated events, but the amount that's in the Watts case is just crazy. And that's not even including all of the similarities that I've mentioned in my other videos as far as how they incorporated other real life high profile murder cases and killers into the actual Watts narrative itself as well. Not just high profile, but other convicted murderers as well. That's even like, I don't know, I mean, I guess that's not the part where they incorporated the other serial killers into, or the other cases into the Watson narrative. I wouldn't consider that predictive programming. That's just a part of their little, Easter eggs that they like to leave for us because they think that they're just, so clever, and that's just what they're all about. But it's interesting because the producers of American Horror Story, Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk, when they were young boys, they grew up watching horror films, and so that's how they got into making American Horror Story. And they get a lot of their inspiration for the show from classic horror films such as Rosemary's Baby, Halloween, Nightmare Before Christmas, and not only that, but they also get inspiration from real life murder cases and serial killers, as well as cult leaders, which is why you have the season that's titled Cult. So the same way that they get inspiration and incorporate different scenarios into their show from those real life situations, as well as the classic horror films, is the same exact thing that they did with the Watts case. So it's just flipped. So for instance, and this might sound repetitive to some of you that have been following me for a while, but you have Officer or Trooper Ted Bundy, and I know I like to say that they put things in plain sight, but I think if they had a trooper working on the case whose name was Ted Bundy, I think that might have been a little bit too obvious. But you have Officer Otto Wilson. Otto Wilson is a convicted murderer, convicted of or charged with killing 2 prostitutes. These are just like one-step searches. So I just found in this case that there was a lot of, or what seemed to be just strange names, right? Like, I know that there's some last names out there that are pretty crazy, but just for instance, like when I saw Tad, or what's his name? What is his name? Ted Bundy. I'm like, okay, that sounds really similar to Ted Bundy. Weird. But then I just started looking up different, individuals that were involved with this case. And so when I looked up Otto Wilson, the very first thing that came up on the search results was Murderpedia. And like I said, Otto Wilson was convicted of killing 2 prostitutes. So he doesn't only have just the first or the last name, but he has the first and last name. And again, it's not like I'm saying that there's these 2 similarities, right, to these serial killers, because there's many people out there that do have the same names. I'm sure that there's a lot of Ted Bundys out there. However, it's when you start seeing, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then so on and so forth, that's when it stops becoming or being, coincidental and ends up being more on purpose. Because how many times does it take for it to be not coincidental anymore? You know what I mean? Another example that I've mentioned in my videos is where you have Officer Ken Dahl. And if you guys have been following true crime, you will know or are familiar with the Ken and Barbie killers, which is Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka. There's also several references and similarities to the Scott Peterson case. I won't go through all those right now. I did make a video on it. Hey, Sweet Pea. Yeah, and I saw your message, Lisa, about that. Yeah, That part is crazy too. But, and that's the thing, is it's what I was going to say earlier. I've seen a lot of predictive programming, and but with this case, it's I've never seen so much, besides the 9/11, but that's because 9/11 was huge, and it's likely that it was planned many, many years in advance. So they had a lot of time to put their little predictive programming in cartoons and movies and televisions and anywhere they want. Hey, Nellie. Anne Marie, thanks for being here. Okay, question. So their end game or their purpose or their agendas, because there's always going to be with these orchestrated events, there's always going to be multiple agendas. They're not going to go through the trouble of planning any of them to, potentially gain just one thing. There will always be, always follow the money. Who benefits? So, key bono. There's always going to be someone or someone who benefits financially, and a lot. So, as far as the Watts case goes, you have good old Lavelle, who had a ton of free publicity in this case. By leaving Shanann's Facebook account open to the public, how many people do you guys think watched Shanann's videos compared to, I don't know how many followers she had prior to the event watching her on Facebook, but if you look at it from a marketing standpoint or publicity standpoint, I mean, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Millions of people have watched her videos, I'm sure, and not just once, but multiple times. So regardless if it's if they're associated with a homicide case or not, subconsciously you still have that her promoting Thrive in your head, and just by curiosity, people are going to go and they're going to look up Thrive or Lavelle's website, right, and see what it's all about. And there's been many people that I've seen that have channel creators, for one, that have started using Thrive and selling it. There's nowhere that you can turn in this case, pretty much, where we don't see or hear someone mentioning Thrive. There's the body cam footage. Right off the bat, you see Nicole Atkinson wearing 2 patches. How many times did the mainstream media mention at the beginning that Shanann worked for Thrive and Lavelle? How many times did the coworkers, Shanann's friends, Chris's coworkers, say that Shanann worked for Lavelle? There's the patch on the shower upstairs on the body cam footage. You have all her packets in her suitcase. I mean, her packet on the nightstand. I mean, it's everywhere in this case. So much free publicity. It's insane. So Lavelle, in my opinion, had a lot to gain from this case. And their sales skyrocketed after the 13th. Now, was it not all free? Maybe did they pay whoever is the one that's orchestrating this or whatever? But I doubt it. It's just, if they're a part of it, they're going to get the free publicity. I'd be curious to know if I don't think I've ever done this, but if you, well, probably not now, but I should have done it a few months ago. But if you search in the discovery for Lavelle or Thrive and see how many times it was mentioned, I'm sure it was an overwhelming amount of times. So this question might take a little bit, but it's a good question. So again, someone or someone's will always benefit substantially. Follow the money. But that's just one person, right? So you have, I guess I should go back to that. Google, YouTube, Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, HLN, any of the mainstream media outlets, any of the Discovery, like Discovery ID, any ones that made documentaries on this, Lifetime, Netflix, God, you name it. There's a lot of people making money off this case. You also have Anadarko. Now, I haven't been able to, without a doubt, prove this, but I made a video fairly early on about high-up executives at Anadarko, boasting about using military-like PSYOP tactics on the public to sway their opinions about fracking. And not only that, but you also have this Proposition 112 bill that was finally able to make it onto the ballot. There was several attempts, but just a few months leading up to August 13th, they made it on the ballot. And so at the same time, we've been led to believe, based on the official narrative, that Chris Watts was having an affair and planning the murders of his family. Anadarko and the other oil and gas companies and pro-frackers were campaigning to stop this Proposition 112 that the anti-frackers were trying to get passed. Now, if this Proposition 112 did pass, it did not, luckily for Anadarko and the oil and gas companies. If it did pass, it would have moved the buffer zone back from 500 feet to 2,500 feet and would essentially taken away about 90% of the oil in Colorado. And what are the odds that Chris and Shanann just happened to move to Colorado, where all this oil is, but not only that, but to the front line, Weld County, and Weld County holds 90% of Colorado's oil. And he just so happens to work for a big oil company that is campaigning against this Proposition 112. So maybe Anadarko didn't gain a whole bunch of money, but they definitely would have lost a ton of money, and so would have Colorado's economy. There's also been reports of insider trading just prior to August 13th, which could point to some sort of foreknowledge that the murders were going to happen. So Anadarko, they're one of the biggest roles in this. So your Lavelle, your Anadarko, and of course Will County. Another reason to orchestrate this event would be to push fear. Fear is one of the major agendas in a lot of these orchestrated events. So they say the best way to control people is with fear. Now, there's so many times that I've heard people say, it doesn't make sense. Chris does not fit the profile of a family annihilator. Everybody that knew him, that was, interviewed in this case, had nothing but great things to say about the guy. Not a negative thing. Great husband, loving father, you name it. Amazing employee, always on time, never hurt a fly, never talked back to anyone. He was an introvert. I mean, look at all the videos. He's so loving to Bella and Cece. How could this be? How? It just doesn't make sense. Well, it's done that way for a reason, which is why they also did not give us a motive, a clear, definitive motive as to why Chris could have possibly did what he did, especially considering that he doesn't fit the profile. He doesn't have a history of violent tendencies. And as far as we know, psychologically, he doesn't have anything going on up there, which we could probably argue. But based on the official narrative, right? Nothing going on up there. Unusual. He's Rain Man, right? He's almost genius. Right. So they didn't give us a definitive motive. Now, they did give us these little tiny motives, right? So you have like the bankruptcy, the medical bills, their debt from that. Of course, the affair. Then you have the fact that Shanann wasn't paying the mortgage payment, so they were behind 3 months. And whether, people want to admit it or not, from the videos, Shanann was or appeared to be somewhat bossy towards Chris, right? And a little controlling. So, many could argue that he bottled it all up inside and it was like a ticking time bomb, right? Because he never stuck up for himself or whatever. But they have to give us those tiny little motives, because if they didn't, it would definitely not be believable. There'd be no way, right? There's like, okay, well, there's no money, if there's no debt, if there's no affair, no nothing, then none of this makes sense. So they have to throw those little motives in there. But the reason why they and it's not always, but a lot of the times with these events, they will not give us a motive. They don't. By doing that, they give us closure, and it kind of settles our fears a little bit, as knowing why someone would commit such a horrendous act, right? So by not giving us a motive, it doesn't give us closure, and it also sets fear into mainly women. Because if someone like Chris Watts, like I said, doesn't fit the profile, how could this happen? How could he just annihilate his entire family when nobody has anything bad to say about him? If someone like Chris Watts can do that one day, then what is stopping your significant other or your, loved one, or anybody close to you that you trust with your life, pretty much? What is stopping them from not, from doing the same thing to you? Like, does murder happen? Of course it does. All the time. Does it happen like this? No. People don't just kill their entire family, especially when everybody that knows him, or so we've been told, or coming from them, had nothing but wonderful things to say about him. There's usually some sort of explanation as to why these people commit such horrendous acts. So that's why we don't have a motive. And that's why Chris didn't have to give a factual basis. part of the reason, in my opinion. And coming from Mr. Rourke himself, he admits in a news interview that she says, why didn't you ask Chris, or something, it's not word for word, but something along the lines of, why didn't you ask Chris to why he did it or whatever. And Rourke says, to be honest, we didn't even think that he would tell us. Okay, well, either way, wouldn't you at least try to or just ask him? So it's all bullshit. Another agenda can be distraction. Focus on the case, focus on all this, and don't focus on everything else that's going on around you, because a lot of times they'll do that so that they can pass laws or something right underneath our noses, and we don't even realize it. So if you'll notice, a lot of the times with these orchestrated events, whether it be a homicide case or a school shooting or a mass shooting or a terrorist attack, either right after, and I promise I'll get back to the chat, but I just want to finish this question. That's why I said it's kind of a going to take a minute to answer, but it's a great question. But you'll notice that either immediately after or very, very just days after, there will already be some sort of push for some law to be passed or one of our rights to get taken away. So whether it be, gun rights or whatever, there's always going to be, or usually there will be some sort of law being pushed immediately after. Interesting enough, I showed this in my last live, but there's a petition on petition.org that was started just days after August 13th to charge Chris with murder for Nico. I mean, we're talking like the 17th, 18th of August. So he had barely even, he hadn't even pled guilty yet to all the murders. He just confessed to Shanann. We're literally talking not even less than a week after the 13th. And there's this petition up, and one of the persons promoting it, or one of the people, is Nicole Atkinson and Nicholas Atkinson. So this is, nothing but great things to say about this guy, and now you're already pushing to charge him with murder just days after. That's like a huge red flag, you guys. Another reason, the main reason usually for orchestrating these tragic events, is because they have to trick us. The reason why they have to trick us is because they know that they can't just come out and start saying, hey, we're going to take your rights away that have been in the Constitution for however many years, right? Years and years. We're just going to start taking your rights away as American citizens. So they're not just going to come out and say, hey, we don't want you to have those, I should just say it, but I'm not, because that's how much I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. But we don't want you to have those pew, pew, pew devices anymore. And we don't want you to be able to protect yourself and your family. But hey, we're just being honest. So you should appreciate that. So how about you just hand those over now, and we'll just carry on, right? No, there's no way that would work. Government can't just come out and say that they're going to take away Americans' rights. So they have to trick us. And they trick us by orchestrating these events. And they use something called the Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. And they've been using it for a long time. So they create the problem, which would be these events, right? We, the public, then react. We don't think logically. We just react because it's so horrific. So, innocent people being killed. We just react and we say, oh my God, this is terrible. Do something. Do something about these innocent people dying. So we turn to them for a solution, not realizing that they were the ones who actually created the problem in the first place. Then in comes your solution, which would be gun control. So, and a lot of times after these shootings, immediately after or very soon after, you will have, these CAs, and if anybody wants to help me out in the chat, what a CA is, they will have these CAs do these, news interviews the day of, actually, sometimes, or immediately after, or soon after, pleading for pew 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 control. And of course, they're being emotional, and their daughter or son or whoever just died that day, but they're giving a news interview, already pushing for pew 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 control. So if you see that in future events of these tragic events, and especially the ones, and I'm not questioning the ones that add up, that do add up. I'm not questioning those ones. The ones I am questioning are the ones that don't and have many red flags and holes in their narrative. If I was questioning ones that did add up, then I would understand if you thought I was crazy or just some crazy conspiracy theorist, right? Sorry, I'm trying to scroll down on the. Actually, I didn't mean to click on it, but I'm glad I did, because I was just trying to scroll down. But yes, exactly, Ashley. And that's what I was just going to mention. Yes, Capri, exactly. Hard eyes, correct. Thank you. Hey, Callie. Hey, Spacebound. So I'm glad that Ashley mentioned that, because, again, I was just going to mention it. And if I sound repetitive, I do apologize, but I repeat these things because they're important, right? And I'm just simply trying to answer questions that people have. So, and there's not going to be, unless something damning comes out that I find, there's not going to be, I'm not going to be talking about any new evidence, because there is no evidence, in my opinion. So, hey, Jay. Hey, Nuck and Fets. So, with this whole thing with the Ruseks, their odd behavior, their constant, they're constantly contradicting themselves. First they go on Dr. Phil. Well, actually, first they leave Shanann's Facebook account open. Then they live stream the funeral for whoever wants to see it. Then they go on Dr. Phil and also on Dr. Phil, they give us this impression that they believe that Nicole Kessinger might have had something to do with it because she deleted her text messages, she lied to law enforcement, she wasn't properly investigated, yada yada. And I'll get back to that part. But as far as leaving Shanann's Facebook public, live streaming the funeral, and going on Dr. Phil and ABC, by doing that, they are publicizing the deaths of Shanann, Bella, and Cece, based on the official narrative, of course. So if you don't want people talking about the case, then why would you do all those things? Why would you publicize the deaths even more by live streaming the funeral and leaving your daughter's Facebook account open? Well, they left it open, one, so that Lavelle could get all the publicity, but two, by leaving Shannon's Facebook account open to the public, what did everybody do? What was everybody encaptured? You know, like, I mean, I can't deny it. I went and watched a ton of Shannon's videos. But by doing that, it really, really pushes that the psychological aspect of these orchestrated events. It pulls at heartstrings. It gets people to what am I looking for? Like they can relate to Shanann's trials and tribulations in her life with their own, especially women, and seeing Shanann with the girls. And so again, it's just all about pulling at the heartstrings. And then of course you have, when you see Chris in the videos, then here comes another emotion. Then you have rage, and because he's disgusting, what a monster. It's all psychological. And again, and that's why they make these cases so tragic. And what's more tragic than burying your wife in a shallow grave and dumping your kids in oil tanks? I mean, it can't get any more tragic than that. So, but if you go back to the Ruseks, how are they going to say that, they flip-flop so much? First, Nicole Kessinger could have been, had something to do with it. Then it's, you can talk about the case, but stick to the facts, no conspiracy theories. And then it's like, don't talk about the case at all. And then you have the lawyers. If you don't stick with the official narrative, then we might have to bring the law into it. And then you have the whole back and forth with that bigger channel about how they're going to take that channel down and stop making money off the deaths of Shanann and Bella, Cece and Nico. And then you have Frank Rusek standing in front of the Watts house giving that statement where he's pointing his finger at the big social media platforms, which I will get back to if I remember. And then they say they try to stay off social media and live their lives and move on, but it's hard because people keep sending them stuff about what we're saying. So what do? Then they turn around and literally insert themselves into social media instead of staying as far away, even further away from it. And they literally insert themselves into social media. And not only that, but true crime, of all places, where that's all they do. That's all we do, is talk about the deaths in these cases, right? So which one is it, Ruseks? Are you staying away from social media so you can move on? Or are you literally inserting yourselves into social media? Like, it makes no sense. However, it does from an agenda standpoint. So the Ruseks, in my opinion, are pushing an agenda. That's why they inserted themselves into social media. They're trying to cause chaos. They're trying to cause division. Pro-Ruzek, pro-Watts. That was the whole reason for Nutgate as well, in my opinion, so that we would all, no, I think this happened at Nutgate. No, I think this happened at Nutgate. And no, Cindy was in the wrong. No, Shanann was in the wrong. No, Sandy was in the wrong. But, it's crazy. It's crazy that we're, trying to figure that whole Nutgate thing out. It's not stupid. But they keep contradicting themselves. Talk about the case, don't talk about the case. Stick to the facts. No conspiracies. We try to stay away from social media, but we're getting death threats and we're being bullied and harassed. There's no evidence to that whatsoever, that anyone's being harassed or bullied. So, with, again, that Hegelian dialectic that I just mentioned, when I saw Frank Ruzek stand in front of the Watts house, because he said he just felt it was necessary that he did it in Colorado in front of the house. Why did he feel it was necessary to do that? Because what happens when people watch that statement that he gives in front of the house? People subconsciously see the house and they think sadness. They see it's dark, it's brown, it's a terrible color, but it's gloomy. It reminds them of the deaths. It pulls at heartstrings. So that's why, in my opinion, Frank Ruzek wanted to do it in front of the Watts home. Because again, it pulls at heartstrings because it's emotional, remembering that that's where the murders, or at least one murder, took place, allegedly. Right? So, hey, Vicky. So when I saw him, that statement that he gave, standing in front of the Watts home, pointing fingers at these big social media platforms, saying that, with his lawyers right next to him, right? I hope I'm not muted because my phone shut off. Let me just check real quick. Okay, we're good. Wow. Knock on wood. So he's pointing his finger at these big social media platforms, saying that we've tried to contact YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and about the harassment and the bullying and the death threats that we're receiving several times, even our lawyers, right? But to no avail, he says. So pretty much accusing these big social media platforms of not doing anything about this harassment, alleged harassment towards the victims' families. And I immediately got the sense that they're trying to take away free speech on social media. So this is going to be, as far as I know, the first that I've seen, the first attempt to try to get a reaction out of us, the Hegelian dialectic. So what Frank Ruzek is doing when he's standing in front of the house, pointing fingers, or pointing his finger, however many he wants to point, he is creating that problem. So by creating that problem, saying that these big social media platforms are not doing anything about this harassment, we, the public, then react and say, oh my God, this is ridiculous, this is insane, something to be done about these poor victims' families being harassed. And these stupid social media, big social media platforms aren't doing anything about this harassment. Something needs to be done. And then, so we turn to them to look for a solution, not realizing that they were the ones who actually created the problem in the first place. But I don't think that attempt got enough. It didn't get a big enough reaction out of us in order to take any rights away from us. So in comes the second attempt, and that's when, well, actually, it could be even before that. Now that I think about it, the whole Rusex with the bigger channel creator that we're all familiar with, saying, "Oh, we're going to sue you and we're going to take you down and donate us money so that I can get lawyers to stop this harassment and bullying." When technically, even though I think it's just a front, but technically this creator has not, he's not said anything bad about Shanann or the girls. I mean, they've vindicated Shanann several times, right? So, so they say. So why would the Rusex be going after this person when clearly he can make money off the case, right? I already said he, but you guys know what I'm talking about. They can make money off the case. All the mainstream media outlets are making money off the case. Even that channel creator that the Rusex went on just recently was literally making money off of that live stream. So you can't sue someone for talking about a very public case. Talking about a case, even if you are spreading disinformation, right? It's not illegal, but talking about a highly publicized case, and not only that, but one that doesn't add up, is not considered harassment. And that's what the Rusex and the Honor Network are trying to claim. They're trying to say that questioning the official narrative of a tragic event is considered harassment towards the victims, when it's not at all. We have every right to question something that doesn't add up that we've been told. But like I said, apparently that's harassment and bullying, asking questions about a case that doesn't add up. That's what they're going with. So that could be, I don't know which came first, but that could be another attempt. So the next attempt was, we know after the Rusex said, "Oh, we try to stay away from social media, and move on with our lives, but we can't." So what do? Like I said earlier, they literally insert themselves into social media. The complete opposite. They, encouraged these advocate channels that supported them and even became moderators, started causing a bunch of chaos all over the true crime community, even mocking and harassing other channel creators that another channel creator made fun of. These are supposed to be victims, you guys. These are supposed to be victims. Treating people that they don't even know and laughing and mocking them, treating them so disrespectfully when they have no idea what they've been through in their lives. If you're truly a victim, you just don't do that. I mean, you shouldn't do that in general, but that's life and people are shitty. So they're literally causing chaos. And when I started to see, and if you guys remember, if you guys were, this was several months ago, but those advocate channels started pushing this Shanann's Law, hashtag Shanann's Law, shine like Shanann. That got me a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, because that meant that, people were starting to make a fuss about this harassment going on. Luckily, it doesn't appear that it made a big enough, didn't get a big enough reaction out of people. So then you have, and this is just speculation, but you have a couple channel creators that came out of nowhere 2 years later, literally accusing Shanann of killing Bella and Cece, right? With no evidence to back that up. Which got a lot of people outraged, right? Like, how dare you accuse this deceased woman of murdering her children with no evidence to back it up? So that ruffled, quite a few feathers. But again, it didn't do enough there wasn't enough to get people that worked up to have people start demanding that something be done. Now, you have, again, the Ruseks who are coming in and just causing a lot of chaos, going on, that other channel and saying, oh, if you want to know the truth, you guys don't know anything. We know way more than you do, and you're never going to know as much as we do. And Weld County and Frederick, they're never going to tell you. So stop talking about the case. It's like, stop talking about the case. Okay, but here you are, literally on a creator's channel, and saying, you don't know anything about Dirty South. I know, I work there, I know everything, and shenan, whatever. Just totally arrogant. Arrogance is off the charts, and just totally, it just amazes me that so many people stick up for the Ruseks when just simply because that they're alleged victims. Even after Frank Rusek talks down to a lot of these people who are actually truly trying to get justice for these victims, and saying, you guys don't know shit. We know everything. You're never going to know all the answers. Stop trying to figure it out. Okay, well, why don't you tell your fantastic little Frederick Police Department and Mr. Rourke to start answering some of those fucking questions, and then maybe we'll stop talking about the case. Okay, Mr. Rusek? Thanks. So just because Mr. Rusek is an alleged victim, we're supposed to be okay with him treating us that way, with him talking down to us like he's some higher power. Why? Because he's a victim? Not me. I don't care what you are. It doesn't, just because you're a victim, it doesn't give you a right to treat people like shit. So this whole victim mentality, or this whole whatever, I don't know if that's the correct word, but it's ridiculous. Being a victim does not make you a saint. It doesn't make you not a liar. It doesn't, and it doesn't give you immunity towards any scrutiny or criticism or anything when clearly they've contradicted themselves many times. Hey, man. If you're going to contradict yourself, and you're going to keep flip-flopping, and you're going to start causing chaos, and you're going to start treating people like shit, I'm going to call you out on it. Victim or no victim. Again, it doesn't give you this whatever. It just makes you a victim. But again, for some reason, so many people think, how dare you? How dare you question the Ruseks constantly contradicting themselves? It's okay if they contradict themselves. They're hurting, Megan. They're in pain. They're trying to mourn. No, they're not. They are pushing an agenda on social media, and when I see something like that, and knowing, especially if it's going to affect myself and my personal freedoms as well as others, then why should I sit back and just let them push that agenda? But they're playing the victim card to push this agenda. And seriously, people need to wake up and stop with this victim whatever. I mean, he's not even hiding it. I mean, hey, you guys don't know shit. We know everything, and you're never going to know the answers. Ha, ha, ha. To the people that are literally trying to get justice for these victims based on the official narrative, of course. And why is it that the Ruseks are trying so hard to convince us that Chris is guilty, or that there is no cover-up, or that there is that law enforcement did a fantastic job? Why are they going out of their way to convince us that there is no conspiracy? If someone's trying to go out of their way to convince that there is no conspiracy, then there probably is one. How are you going to go from saying, oh, we think that Nicole Kessinger, she's suspicious because she deleted her text messages on Dr. Phil, and then talk about the case, don't talk about the case, only talk about the facts. Well, we don't know any of the freaking facts because your precious law enforcement that you rave about so much didn't answer any of those questions for us. Like, it just boggles my mind how so many people cannot see how hypocritical they are. And again, there's no excuse for treating people that way. I don't care how much pain you're in. You literally do not insert yourselves into the true crime community of all places and then tell people to stop talking about the case. Because when they do that, all they're doing is adding fuel to the fire and just make people want to start talking about it even more. Hello? That's why they're doing it. They want us to keep talking about it. They want us to get mad. They want us to get pissed off that the Ruseks, the poor Ruseks, are being bullied, harassed, and sent death threats, even though there's no proof to back that up. Hey, Muck Boys. So, sorry I got on a little rant there, but when I start seeing all of those thumbnails, right, or the whatever they are, the handle images, I don't know, of the YouTube one saying YouTube allows abuse, that's when I get worried. When I am seeing in so many chats all those thumbnails, the same ones, about how YouTube is allowing abuse. Because now we get back to that Hegelian dialectic, and people are starting to react. They're starting to react and say, hey, enough is enough, YouTube, Twitter, who am I missing? Facebook. We need to stop this harassment, abuse towards victims and their families in these tragic events. So if enough people make enough commotion, in comes the solution, which is free speech. So you guys are going to wake up one day. It's not just going to affect me as a channel creator or other channel creators. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to want to tune in or go to your favorite true crime creator and realize that you're not going to be allowed to talk about your favorite true crime cases. You're not going to be able to say that you think this person or this person or this person did that. And then people, the ones with all those pictures with the, do something YouTube about that they allow harassment, they're going to go, what do you mean I can't talk about true crime anymore? What do you mean I don't have free speech on YouTube or social media? What are you talking about? Hello, you guys were the ones that caused this, or were they part of it? I mean, obviously the ones that created the problem had a big part in it, but they're not even going to realize it. So these individuals who are, after these tragic events, that are pushing for the gun control, that are pushing for whatever, right? Pushing for YouTube to do something about this harassment towards victims, they think that they're actually doing something good for society when in actuality they're doing more harm. And they're essentially saying, hey, take away our rights. That's what they're doing. They are literally, we are giving them the power So they're literally giving these powers that be permission to take we're handing over our rights. Well, I'm not, but the ones that are they're literally handing their rights over, and they're gonna wake up one day and wonder why they can't talk about certain things or discuss their favorite true crime cases because they demanded that something be done. Yeah, I don't know, Hard Eyes, I'm not sure. So to a lot of people, the Rusak's behavior is odd, and it doesn't make sense. It's not normal behavior, or what we would think is normal behavior from victims' families, right? Or victims' family members, or victims of a tragic event. It's not normal behavior. You don't literally insert yourself into social media and the true crime community. But if you look at it from a different perspective and a different standpoint, and you look at it based off of my theory and based off if they're pushing an agenda, it makes, to me, in my opinion, perfect sense. Hey, Swamp Lover. Thanks for posting my DLive link. And you're late, a lot late, like an hour late. Just kidding. I mean, and the Watts are not, they're not innocent by all means either. Okay. It's the same thing. They've been laying kind of low, but they've also been doing a lot of communicating with people on social media. Why are the Rusaks and the Watts continually communicating with, no offense, but we're just YouTube creators. We're nobodies, right? Why do they give two Kessinger poops what we think about them? Why would they care? I don't know why I always say two Kessinger poops. That's what I always say. Normally it's reindeer at Christmas time, but it's not Christmas, so I say Kessinger. Yeah, so why do they care what we think? And why they say, oh, these families are hurting, they're mourning, they're trying to move on. No, they're not. They're literally engaging themselves in social media. Like, I don't know how many times, I know I keep repeating myself, but I need to make that clear because this is not what you do if you are true victims and you're trying to move on. You don't work with some social media creator or not creator, but she is now, I guess, but with a couple of binders that did some research on the case and literally make a low budget documentary of their trip to Colorado for the 35C, add some dramatic music to it. Like, this isn't real life, you guys. This is not real life. And I just say, I know that you guys can probably sense my frustration in my more recent live streams, but I don't know how much clearer I can make it that this case is not real. It is not what we have led to believe it is. We have been lied to. So if anybody are victims in this case, it's us. We have been lied to. We have been deceived. Whether you think you can see my theory, or if you think it's a full-blown cover-up or whatever, we are victims as well. So why is everybody taking so much time to advocate for these other victims who clearly don't even appreciate it? I mean, clearly. by causing all this chaos and flip-flopping and contradicting themselves and this we're better than you I don't know, but what about us, right? Do we not deserve to know what happened with this case? Do we not deserve to know why we've been deceived? So, I mean, call me selfish, but sorry, I'm a victim too, and I'm going to I'm not going to be a victim, anymore in the future, and that's what I don't want you guys to be victims either. I don't want you guys spending so much time. I mean, what you guys do with your lives is on you, but if people don't wake up, it affects me as well. And it's going to affect, it might sound dramatic, but it's really not. It's happening. It's been happening. They've been slowly taking rights away a little bit at a time. So whether it be this homicide case or another homicide case, whether it be to push fear or whatever, to pass a law, Nico's law, hashtag Nico's law, they're slowly doing it over time. You can clearly see it with me. I struggle every single time I have a live stream because I can't even say that this well-orchestrated event, tragic event, that's the words they use, this well-orchestrated, is that what I said? This well-documented tragic event didn't take place. I can't say that because I will risk my channel getting taken down because it's in their guidelines. Why am I or anyone else not allowed to question the authenticity of a tragic event where there's so many holes in its narrative? Again, I'm not questioning the ones that add up, but there's really not that many that add up from what I've seen. And don't be afraid to literally if don't feel bad if to admit that you've been fooled or duped. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks to know that you've been led to believe one thing for over 2.5 years now, almost 3. Nobody wants to know that they've been duped or lied to, and not nobody, but a lot of people don't want to, especially admit that they have been. But why not admit it? Say, shame on them. But I don't want to be victim to this deception anymore, and to this psychological bullshit anymore. And just learn from it and grow from it, and because there's a lot of people that have been affected by this case that have actually affected their personal lives over a family that they've never even met. No one knows this family, either families. All we know is what law enforcement and the mainstream media and the two families have told us. There is nothing in this case. This is a challenge. I said in my last live stream, I challenge anybody to prove to me one thing factual in this case that's not hearsay. One thing that law enforcement, has told us that we can actually prove, or that they can prove to me actually took place or actually happened. Prove to me that Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts were actually having an affair. Prove to me that Shanann even went to North Carolina. Prove to me that Nutgate even happened. Prove to me that Shanann was even on that flight to Phoenix. Because we're literally believing everything that we're being told in this case. And I understand that people are like, well, why would they lie to us? I've given you several reasons why they would lie to us about this case. And if you think that they're capable of a full-blown cover-up, if they've lied about all that, then what makes you think that they can lie about everything? To push multiple agendas. And I have my opinions about real, but I will keep them to myself. And that's a good question, McBoyce. And that's the thing. It's like, just because he took a picture of her, does that mean that this entire thing happened? Does that mean that they were sleeping with each other 6 times a day? It's just a picture. It's just a picture that supports a narrative. But were you a fly on the wall when they were doing it 6 times a day, supposedly? Were they, we don't even know if she even really worked at Anadarko. We're just believing it because that's what we've been told. I'm not a coworker or seen her there, or I haven't seen any of her, paychecks. Hey, Chica. But I mean, I see what you're saying, McBoys. But that's the thing. That's how easy it is to convince people that something happened. So I brought this up in my last live stream. That picture, and I'm sure that you guys have probably all seen it. There's that picture that's a perfect picture, right, of the oil tanks and the hazmat crew, the 4 or 5 hazmat crew and the firemen with their backs to the camera, standing around the 2 oil tanks. Now, we've been led to believe that, or we've been told that what was happening in that picture, right, when that picture was taken, that's when they were removing the girls from the oil tanks. Now, is there anywhere in that picture that literally proves that anybody was being taken out of those oil tanks, or that there was even oil in them, for that matter? Or are we just believing it because that's what it appears is happening, and because that's what we were told is happening in that picture? Pictures and videos can be very deceiving. Sure, it might look that way, and yeah, that's what we're being told, but there is no proof anywhere in that photo that anyone is being removed from those tanks. Just like the video footage, the doorbell footage of Shanann walking up to the front door. We were told that that's when she came home from Arizona, and that was the 13th. There's no timestamp. There is nothing in that video that proves it was from that night. Nothing. Even if there was a timestamp, I still would not be convinced. I know that might sound crazy, but with technology these days, you could put a timestamp on anything. There's so much like CGI and just advancements that where anything is possible. I mean, look up those deep fake videos. They're insane. But again, if they lied, if so many people have pointed out all these inconsistencies in the case, if they've lied about those, what else do you think that they've lied to us about? And what else do you think they're capable, or how high do you think they're capable of going to deceive us? And yes, I feel the same. I do believe that as well, my boys, as far as it being a different date. But that's the problem, is that so many people are just so quick to just believe everything that they've been told. And I know, and it sucks, right? Like, it'd be nice if we could just believe an official narrative or believe what the government tells us or law enforcement or the mainstream media. That's the purpose of the news. That's what they've been around for. They're supposed to give us the news, factual news. But it's not like that anymore. Those days are, even back then, they were lying to us. Like, do the opposite, right? Any of these channel creators or anybody, or for that matter, make someone make them earn your trust, not the other way around. Don't give them your trust and then, let them break that trust. In my opinion, trust should be earned. Like, things can just be so easily manipulated. It's crazy. And again, it would be nice if you can, because I'm sure people are like, Megan, so you're just saying don't believe anybody and everybody's just lying and everyone has an agenda? That's not what I'm saying. But again, make them prove it first, right? And then go from there. And if they're not willing to answer any questions, or if you're being blocked, you're being timed out, or if they're hesitant to answer questions, even if they answer questions, if they're quick like that, there's so many manipulative people out there that they can just answer questions on the spot and wiggle their way out of them. And you might not be able to vet everything that we've been told. That would be impossible. But ask questions. It's so important to ask questions. And think critical and logical and say, hey, you know what? There's a lot of stuff that doesn't add up in this case. So how do I know that those girls were actually pulled from those tanks just based off of that one picture? But they know that the majority of people will never, ever question it. So any other questions? I was like, hey, put your questions in the chat, and then I answered one. But again, it's a great question, and I could keep going on and on. And I don't want to. I want to try not to repeat myself. But again, the things I talk about are important, and I will repeat them as long as it takes. I mean, I don't know how. Hopefully, it's not forever, but. Again, I only have so many things that I can talk about, and I've even, these last couple of live streams I've done, I haven't held back as much, and it's wonderful. But I already got a strike on my channel for simply just talking about the anatomy of one of these events. I wasn't even voicing my opinions on it. It was the simple characteristics and anatomy of orchestrated events, and I got a strike. So, I don't know if it's going to take like my channel getting taken down to prove to people, and I don't want to prove, but to make people see that I'm not over exaggerating when I'm saying that there's certain things I can't talk about, and that I'm always walking on eggshells talking about this case. But I don't think even then, I don't think it's going to be enough to wake people up. I can only just keep, educating you guys on what I know and what I've learned over the years from other I'm not an expert, but from experts on, conspiracy theories and orchestrated events and government deception. And the thing is, you guys, is, there's so many people say, why aren't they answering our questions? Why don't they just want to answer our questions and we'll shut up about it? They don't want us to shut up about it. They want us to go drive us crazy and try to figure out what happened with this case with only half the evidence. And That's pushing it. Hey, Pride or Honesty. The Smith-Mundt, I know this is going to be repetitive, but the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012 made it legal for the mainstream media and the U.S. government to push propaganda and lie to the public. Now, they did it before that, but once that bill was passed, they can now legally do it. They can do it, and we have no say in it. We have no right. We cannot get mad. So they can lie about anything. They can lie about a small news story, local news story, all the way up to a homicide case. Okay? They can legally do it. This case should be open and shut with as much information as they gave us. I'm trying to answer all of these questions that so many people have about this case, like why nothing adds up, why they won't answer our questions, why Nicole Kessinger was never treated as a suspect, why she never will be, and why she will never be charged, and why she disappeared, why the Ruseks have such strange behavior, and why they're constantly contradicting themselves. Why the Ruseks are so convinced that law enforcement did such an amazing job on this case, but yet all of us, in the true crime community, or many people in the true crime community, clearly know that nothing adds up, and why the mainstream media is not covering those inconsistencies, because their only job is to push the narrative out to as many people as possible, and that's what they did with this case. And that's why you have in months. The only ones that we're hearing anything about are OK Magazine, Lifetime, and the Daily Mail, all tabloid, drama-infested news sources and television. They're literally turning the true crime community into a dramatic soap opera. Why are the Ruseks and why are the Watts not demanding answers from Rourke as to why their loved ones are no longer here and why shit doesn't add up? Because it's not real. Because real victims would be demanding answers. They would be at Rourke's door saying, what do you mean that there's a shadow? What do you mean that the girls were alive when they left the house? Because you told me, and I told the public, that I saw them carry him out like trash. So which one is it? Because clearly, Rourke, you don't have, you don't know what the hell's going on in your own investigation, and that worries me. And now I'm questioning, like, if, again, why my loved ones are no longer on this earth. But you don't see that happening from the Ruseks, and you don't see that happening from the Watts. They're too busy engaging in social media and with social media creators. Nobody cares about this case outside of social media in the true crime community. Real victims would be looking into Lavelle and saying, hey, I wonder if maybe this could be the reason why Chris did what he did. Lavelle, nobody even went after Lavelle, hardly, and looked into their products. And maybe it did or didn't have a hand in the murders based off the official narrative. Why aren't the Ruseks mad at all the mainstream media outlets for making money off the case, or Dr. Phil, or Lifetime? Well, they're surely not mad at Netflix because they helped him out. They gave him more pictures and videos, and that just got the case talked about all again. But nope, they're not telling Netflix to stop talking about it. They're not telling the other channel creator that they went on to stop talking about it. They are pushing an agenda, and I just I'm trying to people need to wake up. And of course I'm not trying to be demanding, and I know it's not that simple. I know it's not that simple, especially when you've been told or led to believe for over almost 3 years now a certain narrative. So I understand that it's not going to be easy for everybody. But as far as I know, I am the only one that's giving answers, some sort of answers to these questions that we've been left with. And the ones who are, have tunnel vision and only want Nicole Kessinger to be guilty or Chris to be guilty, and just they're going to be very difficult to be able to make them see for what it really is, because they're going to want their own ending to this case. They're going to want their own theory to come true. If you want to see the truth about this case, you have to push your emotions aside. You have to not have bias or tunnel vision. You have to look at all of the, I want to say evidence, but there is no evidence hardly. But you even have to, unfortunately, question even the heroes in this case, and even the deceased ones, even Shanann. The only ones that are innocent in this case are Bella and Cece, because they're children. So no one in this case has a good light shining on them, because even Shanann. And I know that's not what people want to hear, but unfortunately, I spent too much time worrying about other people when I need to stop doing that, because it's really, really bad. It's really bad that so many people are just so oblivious to what is going on in this world right now. But hopefully, at least I can just at least, get people to see that not everything is what it seems, and to not believe everything that you've been told, and literally just ask questions. And if you ask questions, you might not find the exact answer, but you might still find an answer based on the reaction from whatever the person or wherever you're trying to get the answer from. But a simple picture can be very, very deceiving, like I said. Like pictures of Chris and Kessinger at the dunes does not prove that any murders took place or that any affair happened. All it is a picture of Chris and Kessinger at the sand dunes. That proves nothing to me. Again, if everything in this case added up, then I wouldn't be questioning it, and I'd say, yeah, it probably did happen. They probably did have an affair, because everything adds up. But when shit doesn't add up, that's when you have to start really, really looking at things differently. I'm on DLive, Jay, where it's not as censored as of yet, but the reason I don't know where Nicole Kessinger is. There's some things about this case, obviously, I don't know everything about it. What I do know without a doubt is that it's not real. It's orchestrated to push several agendas. But the reason why Nicole Kessinger disappeared is because because it's not real. She's not a real mistress. It didn't happen, okay? If she was a real mistress, she would more than likely give a public statement, and she would, at least have a lawyer come out and say, give her side of the story. She might even actually write a book. She might actually do a couple news interviews, or go on Dr. Phil or something. but it's not real life. See, she did her role. She did her part. She's now the most hated woman in America for now. I don't know. It might have changed, but in real life, yes, it's likely she would tell her side of the story or write a book. But again, I saw the same thing with the Las Vegas shooting. The closest person to Stephen Paddock was Mary Lou Danley, his girlfriend. She was never questioned, hardly. She was not investigated or treated as a suspect. She was not given a lie detector test, and she literally fell off the face of the earth. Never gave any interviews, had hardly any footprint from her past, a couple of pictures from Facebook. No one came out and said that they knew her, no enemies, no ex-boyfriends, no ex-husbands, nothing. Same with Nicole Kessinger. And that's the patterns that I'm talking about. When I see consistency and patterns in these same events that don't add up, I'm going to start looking at it from a different perspective and going, wait a second, something's not right here. Why am I seeing these same red flags that I'm seeing in other orchestrated events used all the time? How is it that the two people closest to the ones that allegedly committed these horrific acts just so happen to disappear off the face of the earth and never be investigated? And it just so happens that both cases have many red flags and holes in its narrative and don't add up. What are the odds that evidence was tampered with, destroyed, and went missing with Las Vegas? Same thing with the Chris Watts case. What are the odds that Stephen Paddock's autopsy was incomplete and had many inconsistencies in it? What are the odds that all the autopsies in the Watts case were incomplete and have inconsistencies in them? What are the odds that so many people thought that the LVMPD was a part of a cover-up because so many inconsistencies were in the case? What are the odds of the same thing with the Watts case? What are the odds that the LVMPD released so much information on that case? Body cam footage, witness statements, autopsy reports, 911 calls. What are the odds that they did the same exact thing with the Watts case? Because they follow the same itinerary, the same characteristics in these events. Then you also have your symbolism. And I'm not even going to go into that because there's so much in Las Vegas and there's so much in the Watts case. But I mean, we're talking, I'll just name a couple. You have the pyramid right across from the concert grounds. You have sorry, I'm just making sure my mic still works. You have these towers that were right behind the concert grounds, behind the stage, that look like Masonic pillars. You have so many pillars in the house of the Watts house. You have the side-by-side oil tanks that look like towers, Masonic pillars, right? 13, 33, just so much. I do, Christy. Yeah. It's I have two of them. Like, the best thing for everyone, this would never happen, but the best thing for everyone would be to stop talking about this case and move on. There are so many people that die all the time, or they're murdered, and so many children that are murdered and that go missing. Why are people spending so much time on this case. Hi, Shani. When are we going to play games? There's so many people dedicating their lives. And I know that might sound, strange coming because I'm the one that's been dedicating my life pretty much to this since almost the beginning. But I'm doing it for a different reason. I'm not doing it to solve the case or to figure out what happened or figure out the cover up. I'm doing it to wake people up. No, that's not all you're good for, Shan. Of course not, my love. It's just been a long time, and I'm having Shan and game withdrawals. But, yeah, so I'm doing it to wake people up, and you have to wonder why there's only certain cases that get so much mainstream media attention. With all of the murders that happen all the time, why do the mainstream media outlets push these specific cases? Oh, really, Shan? I didn't know that. Sorry. Yeah, exactly, crystal clear. So many inconsistencies. So, I need to scroll up. See, I'm sure I missed a lot, so I apologize. But I get on my rants and it just happens. There's a YouTube lawyer that says he was in a courtroom with MK, changed her name, and she was in Texas at the time. That's one of those things, McVoy, where you have to, it's all hearsay. It's like, again, my challenge again is if anyone can give me one thing out of this case where they can prove to me beyond a reasonable doubt that it's true, that it actually happened. And not this hearsay, not, well, it's in the discovery, not the mainstream media told us, not the government told us, not, and surely not somebody from the Watts family or the Rusek family told us, because they're in on it. They are pushing an agenda. Clearly, in my opinion. We don't even know if you think about it, the majority of this discovery could have been written up before August 13th even happened. All they would have to do is go back and adjust some things between August 13th and the time that they released the discovery for any changes in the narrative, like Shanann's fight being late or whatever. It's just because it's written on a piece of paper, it doesn't make it true. And it doesn't make it true just because law enforcement told us. Why? Because they're of higher authority. No, they're just people like us. They just happen to have a little bit more power because of their position, and they're using it to push agendas. Now, not all law enforcement agents are bad people. Not all Freemasons are bad people. That's not what I'm saying. But there are corrupt ones, unfortunately, that give the good ones a bad rap. And it doesn't help when you have certain channel creators in the true crime community that push out so much disinformation that I can't even keep up. And if you want to see the truth about this case, you need to stop believing what everybody says, period. and look for reasons as to why things don't add up. Go a different route, because the cover up route is not working. Nobody is coming to any conclusions about any of it. It just keeps circling back. Let's circle back to that. I don't want to circle back to that anymore. And if people don't wake up, I'm already seeing other homicide cases with these red flags and these characteristics in them that are more than likely to push an agenda. Now, there are some that are obviously bigger than others. The Watts, way bigger. But they're always going to be the ones that get all this mainstream media attention. Look at the Tristan Bailey case. I've already found so much occult symbolism in there. Don't get me started on the shoes. I won't even go into the shoes because that's really conspiratorial. But they live streamed her funeral, for the whole world to see, just like the Ruseks did. Why do they do that? Because it pulls at heartstrings and it pulls at emotions. It gets people worked up because it's sad. If you go back and you watch that not the funeral, but the celebration of life for Tristan Bailey, not one tear, not a single tear from anybody that gave a speech. There was laughter. And I get it. It's a celebration of life, but we're talking just days after this girl just was stabbed brutally. 46 times or something? And these people have the capability of going on television and just talking as if she's still there or has been gone for quite some time. Not a single tear. The kid was already charged with murder, 2 days after? And he was already in court. You get arrested for a domestic dispute or something, right? You're sitting in jail for 3 months before you even see a courtroom. So this 14-year-old kid's already been charged with murder and in court 2 days after this girl was found. And it's on television for that matter. Don't even get me started on the Cash Gerson case. It's just, I really would not have a life if I covered all these cases because there's just so many of them and they're just pushing them out. It's crazy. Yeah, the shoes are my thing. No, they're not my thing. They're their thing, Christy. It's just one of their Easter eggs that they put in these cases. I don't know why, but it's shoes. There's so many shoes. I'm not even. I don't even want to go there with the shoes. But it's insane. Yeah, that too, Chica. Good point. So yeah, they want us to constantly be in fear. They want us to think that anybody at any time can literally murder you at any time for no apparent legitimate reason. I've seen several comments where women have said that they're scared of their own husbands now because of this case. That's insane. Because of one case. Hey, Amber Time. Yeah, exactly, Chica. You really. I mean, again, it's just not real life. And again, I'm going to sound repetitive, but the fact that no one's personal information in this case was redacted, you guys, that to me personally is more than enough to to support my theory. I mean, it's not real life. You can't release personal information of people involved, and especially in a quadruple homicide case, to millions of people. It's redacted for a reason. And why do you think they're going back after a year and slowly redacting stuff and doing a somewhat Mandela effect on us and redacting what they never redacted before? Because they're done pushing their agenda. They're done with the psychological bullshit of it. So they're going back and redacting and taking information out of the discovery, so that if someone like myself, says, "Oh no, they didn't redact anyone's personal information," then someone's going to go that doesn't have the original discovery. It's going to go and see that everyone's personal information is now redacted, and I'm going to look like the crazy person. And not only personal information of adults, but personal information of minors, like Madison Atkinson, Nicholas Atkinson, and McKenna Lindstrom, right? We didn't really see what she looked like, but we still know her name. The kids, when they were canvassing the neighborhood and the two boys came out with their mother, their faces should have been redacted for their protection. That kind of kooky lady, the Watt lady, that lives a couple doors down from the Watts, but they didn't even know each other, that their last names were Watts as well. Come on. They go in the body cam inside her house, and she's got all this nice, everything's white, and it looks all expensive. So what if the wrong person sees that body cam footage and now knows that she has all this expensive shit in her house, and that her husband's downstairs in the basement hours at a time every day, that she doesn't have a dog, she doesn't have security footage, she doesn't have an alarm, she just has the doorbell cam. That's just asking to get someone robbed or hurt. It's not real life, you guys. It's not. If this was a movie production and we all got front row seats to it. That's why there's so much footage, so much body cam footage, so much pointless footage, like Ronnie being transferred from the police station after Chris confessed to a hotel, because it's dramatic, it's sad, it pulls at heartstrings. Like the Thayers picking up Dieter from the house, body cam footage. Pointless. There's no point to it, but it pulls at heartstrings. How sad. Dieter's left there, and now nobody lives there because they're all deceased, right? Pulls at heartstrings. When have they ever released footage of a inmate that confessed being booked into prison and hand-printed? Never. It is a fabrication. So again, we are the victims. We, in my opinion, are the true victims, because we have been lied to on a massive scale. And there's nothing we can do about it. If I woke everybody up, if I came out with some damning information for whatever, something I said, and it just triggered everyone, and they said, "Holy shit, this isn't real," and everybody figured it out, we are not allowed to do anything about it. We cannot get mad, because they can legally do it because of that Smith Modernization Act of 2012. But if people wake up, the more people that wake up, hopefully the less likely they will be able to trick the public and pull off these orchestrated events and continue to take away our rights and our freedoms. And they don't care if there's so many mistakes in the case. They don't care if it looks like they're incompetent and they didn't do their jobs. They don't care because they know that the majority of people are going to believe the official narrative and everything that they've been told. They know that there's way more people that are just oblivious and just believe everything that they're told than there are to someone like myself or Chica or anybody else that has an open mind and thinks logically. But the fact that, I see a lot of the same, people in here makes me it knows that I know that you guys have an open mind, at least, right? If you're willing to hear me each time go on my rants about this case, at least you're willing to hear what I have to say, and so that gives me an open mind, or not open mind, but it gives me hope. It could be, Jay. I'm not sure. I don't think they've done anything with that house. I think there's even weeds growing. I don't know how to. I don't know how to take the. I don't know how to do the comment thing still. Hey, Jackie. What's interesting, though, that you mentioned, Jay, about the toys in the backyard. If you guys remember there's like a shovel, like a kid's, they're like sand tools, like sandbox tools. There's like a shovel and a rake or something. I'm trying to remember exactly, but it's on the body cam footage, and it's by the window in the rocks, and it's crisscrossed like an X. Well, there's on the Colorado State emblem or logo. There's like a prospector shovel and a pick or whatever, I think. But if you just go and you look up the Colorado State emblem, there you have, of course, the Masonic pyramid, the all-seeing eye, and then underneath that, it looks exactly like that. Those the two sandbox tools that are in the backyard. And OED TV, I played a video about it, and he mentions what it stands for, and I can't remember at the moment, but it's pretty interesting, to say the least. Just more of their Easter eggs and symbolism that they put in the case. Whose house? The Watts house. All right, as well, I'm going to keep it under 2 hours. I hate like going like 3 and over 2 hours. But I did get one question answered, or a couple of questions answered. I know, terrible. But again, the one question that Nicole asked, it was a great question. So I will do this again soon and try to answer some different questions. But Again, if you've not following me on DLive yet, please consider doing that. I play a ton of content on there um, of other creators speaking about these other tragic events that are orchestrated and the symbolism in plain sight, the agendas by our government, the Hegelian dialectic that I talk about all the time, and the Smith Modernization Act that I talk about all the time as well. So I play content from other creators that are speaking out and trying to wake people up about other events as well. So it's important. I'll put my link in the chat as soon as I end this. So thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time. And yay, my microphone didn't go out. Oh, okay.